Good morning,
Good morning. Good
everybody.
morning. How's it
Good
going?
morning. All right, you guys. We'll let you guys trickle on in here today, but it is another beautiful day up here in the Pacific Northwest. We have some sunshine, and it's even supposed to get to a little bit warmer temperatures today, which is very, very nice.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. Great
Yeah,
day.
good stuff. So we'd love to hear inside the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on for you guys right now. Um, everyone. Turn on the chat real quick. Love to hear where you guys are tuning in from. So drop into the chat where you're tuning in from, and we'll get this party started. Good stuff, you guys. All right, so different DIY inspiration stories. There's one DIY that was actually in the process of their build, and so you could kind of see that the inside wasn't finished, but they had already finished the entire shell. The entire exterior was all done. So that was pretty cool to see, and they even gave us like a tour at the end of it. We're really excited because all the sessions are recorded, and we're going to be distributing the recordings sometime next week once we have it all dialed in and polished off. So excited for making that happen. So next week, be on the lookout for the recordings if you missed any of the sessions. And even if you didn't miss a session, you can still go back and watch it to glean those nuggets of information. So,
Yep, definitely.
all right. So today we have another full day. It's actually even a little bit longer almost than yesterday's sessions. So it's going to be quite a few different DIYers, a lot of their stories, a few different experts in the industry who know what they're talking about, and maybe even, and I know we have at least a couple of people who have hosted some DIY classes as well before. So in-person workshops, that is. So they'll have really good handle on teaching guys and everything that you guys need to know. If you guys have any questions, make sure to start writing them down and plan on asking who you're going to be asking those specific questions. The goal of the entire event is to show you guys that you are able to DIY your tiny house and make it just blatantly clear that you don't have to be an expert in order to make this happen. And also, just the more that you just start talking about your project, the more people who are an expert in certain areas, like maybe you're too worried to do the actual electrical yourself, but if you start talking about your project, then people will actually just start pitching in and start helping out and whatnot. So it's pretty cool to see how that all happens. Um, all right, so today's agenda, we can go through that real quickly, and then we can roll from there. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Give me a second, you guys. Let's see here. Perfect. All right. Can you guys see my screen? You can drop it in the chat if you can see the screen. But until I see it. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Soren. Cool. Yeah, so today is obviously March 15th, depending on where you're at, but March 15th, and we are going to be rolling through what the agenda holds. If you missed the intro yesterday, we'll just give you a quick 30,000 foot view. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jason.
And we actually started a tiny house building company about 10 years ago, and we built over 100 custom tiny homes. Each one was uniquely custom, and we actually have a TV show in our family business, which was called Tiny Luxury. You can go check that out. There's actually quite a few different fun and very unique builds that we did inside of the TV show. It's probably worth checking it out to get some design inspiration and whatnot. Some of it was definitely over the top for the show, but some of it is also just fun and everything. So a lot of experience there. About 5 years ago, we jumped out of actually building tiny homes and we jumped into the educational side of tiny homes, hosting events just like this and providing resources for you guys to be able to actually achieve your tiny house dreams. So we're super excited to continue that mission. And today is a really big, exciting day for us because, and actually this whole event is because it's our first exclusively DIY focused tiny house event. So it's all about people who have DIY their tiny homes or resources, and people can help you along your journey in DIYing your tiny house. So, see. All right. So the agenda stacks up like this. So at 9:30, so right after our session here in about 20 minutes, this is all Pacific time, mind you. So make sure you keep that in mind. It's all Pacific time. 9:30, we have Noelle Marquise, and she's going to be talking about their tiny backyard studio build. It's a pretty cool story. It's going to be one of those inspirational DIY stories that you guys aren't going to want to miss, and you'll be able to glean a lot of information from them. And then let's see here. Then we got Patrick with Artesian SIP panels, and he's going to be talking about building your tiny house on wheels with structural insulated panels. This is a very highly inquired question that we get all the time. People are constantly asking, like, can I build a tiny house with SIPs and so on? There are some different complicating factors, but there's also a lot of things that make it a lot easier too. So I'm actually super excited for Patrick's session because there's going to be information that I don't actually know because I don't have extensive SIP experience, SIP construction experience. So it'll be interesting to find out like what his best tips and tricks are for running the wires and pipes through the walls. So. And then we've got joining an off-grid community in Northern Ontario with your tiny home. So they're going to be talking about all about kind of off-grid communities and the aspects of bringing your community together and really, really like being with like-minded people and how important that is when you're actually building your tiny home. So that'll be a pretty important one as far as finding a place to park it and so on. Cool. Then we got Stacy Murphy, and she's going to be talking about kind of how to design your tiny house in a unique perspective and unique way. She's going to be talking about kind of all that sort of stuff. So make sure that you tune into that session to learn more about a kind of alternative perspective on how to design your tiny house. And then we got Vina, who's going to be talking about tiny house design for DIY specific. She's DIY'd her tiny house. She's done a lot of different tiny homes as well. So you'll want to tune into that. She's got a really good eye for design. So. Then we got Amanda, and she's going to be talking about her DIY build that she did with her dad. She saved up enough money to be able to build her tiny home and finally made her dreams come true. And her and her dad went through the whole DIY process. So that'll be an interesting one for sure. And then we got Doug, and Doug is awesome. He is the research man. He goes deep into researching and figuring out exactly what you need to know and what he needed to know when he was designing his tiny house. He made it very specific to his needs. He's got a whole area that he can dance inside of his tiny house. And also to boot, he's over 70 years old, and he spent 2 years building his tiny house, but now he's been living in it for over 2 years. So that's an inspiring tiny house story of somebody who made his dream happen, even though it was a little bit later on in years, but still didn't let that stop him. So and then we got Marty. He's going to be talking about Cat Skills Tiny House Workshop, and his is all about correctly designing your small house. And he hosts actually quite a few different DIY classes and whatnot in person. So he'll have a lot of wealth of experience and knowledge and teaching experience as well to teach you there. Then we got Sammy Miselli, and she's going to be talking about how she built her tiny house dream, and HER stands for, it's an acronym, and it's actually all about her tiny house dreams that she made come to reality and whatnot. So very exciting for that one. And then we've got Kathy Malone, and she's actually lived 30 plus years of living tiny, and she actually kind of refurbished a caretaker cottage on her property and went through that whole journey and has done multiple different tiny home things from there. And she's got a really cool story and also a lot of impact there. And then we've got Damon, and Damon's going to be talking about all things about tiny houses. He's literally just an expert in all things tiny homes, and not only is he the founder of Trailer Made Custom Trailers for tiny houses and whatnot, but they also he's the founder of Tiny House Experts, which is literally just anything and everything in tiny house space. So definitely going to be a session that you're going to want to tune into, because there is going to be literally so many nuggets of information inside of that one that you're going to not want to miss. Plus you can literally ask him any question, and he's got it on lockdown. So. And then we'll jump into the breakout rooms after that. And breakout rooms, people were loving it last night. It was a good session where people were just literally collaborating together, and also just like making some lifelong friends with people that are now going to that are like-minded with them. So lifelong like-minded friends, which is very impactful. And the cool part, sometimes you live pretty close to the other people, and sometimes you live on the opposite side of the country, but you can still keep in touch and whatnot. So cool. Yep. And then have fun. Let's learn, connect, and dream. And if you have any questions, email us at support@tinyhouse.com. Any questions, or if you need any help or anything like that, make sure to reach out to us there. All right, you guys.
Definitely, yeah. So that's kind of the plan for today. Obviously, a cram-packed day up ahead. We have a little bit of time before Noel hops on. If anyone has any questions right now, we're happy to dive into a little bit of a Q&A to wrap up this session too, before we hand off the mic.
But until then, love to hear where you're at in your tiny house journey. If you're dreaming, then type in dreaming. If you're designing, type in designing. If you're in your build process, type in build. If you are actually already living tiny, you can type in dwelling or living tiny, whatever you want. Drop it in the chat there. We'd love to see where you guys are at in your process there. Obviously, everybody's going to be at a different spot on their journey, which is why it's so cool that some people are already on the dweller side and some people on the dreaming side, and it'll just blend really well together, which is what we love about bringing the community together inside of an event like this, is that there's just so much information that can be gleaned and shared amongst everybody. So really excited for all of that. Yeah, Damaris, you guys spoke yesterday. That was the very cool DIY build. Damaris, do you want to drop in maybe one of your social channels and people can go give you guys a follow? Oh, I see, Damaris. Perfect, yeah. Do you want to drop it into your social channel and then people can go give you guys, oh, nice. Yep, perfect. And you guys are over in Florida, so you guys are excited for that. I'm not sure if any of you guys were here on yesterday's session, but actually yesterday morning it came across my feed that Fritz Tiny House actually craned a tiny house on wheels into place. So there's a video of the tiny house literally like way up in the air, which is pretty crazy. Holding my breath the whole time that they're flying like that.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, can try to get the link here to that Instagram. But Tiny Life Consulting. Awesome. Tiny Life Consulting, super cool. Yeah, so there's so much so many resources now. Like Alexis and Christian were saying, when they were trying to build their tiny house back in 2014, it was like trying to find a needle in a haystack when you're looking for anything specific about building a tiny home, which is our exact experience, because we started building in 2014 as well. And we had a ton of actual construction experience, but not a lot of zero tiny house on wheels experience, because we obviously had never built one before. So we knew the basics of how to frame, how to do all that sort of stuff. But what we were the most worried about was the actual force of shaking the tiny house as it's driving down the road and making sure that it's not just going to pop off the trailer or tip over, which was definitely probably my number one concern, was that a tiny house was going to tip over on the road. And it's actually surprising how, tiny houses just don't flip over. It's something to do with the physics of it and everything like that. But it always, there's been so many times where it's like that thing is definitely going to topple over and it just rolls right out of it and doesn't phase it at all. But definitely can have some pretty good scares there. But that's always part of the adventure, I guess. So thanks, Duran.
Yeah, that's cool, Bennett, what you're doing, helping a local nonprofit build tiny homes on foundations. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. How big, Bennett, I'd love to hear, how big are the tiny homes that you're building?
I guess he's just typing in the hosts and panelists, actually. Bennett, you might need to change your chat setting to type to everyone, basically. you'll see a little blue icon down there where you're typing, and you can switch it from host and panelist to everyone. There we go.
Oh yeah, what's your internet service, Soren? Yeah, I'd love to hear if you want a Starlink or whatnot. Nice. Got to live in it for almost a full week. Was that the one up by the lake? I can't remember what the lake is called, but oh, free. That's super cool. That's the way to do it. Can't beat free. Yeah, Bennett would love to hear. Okay, Blue Lakes. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's super cool. 400 square foot. Okay. Super cool. Yeah, 400 square foot. That's plenty big enough to be able to call that home, and being able to, help people like that. That's huge. That's super cool. How many of them were you building in the little community area, Bennett? Is it just like one big community area, or is it spread out throughout the city? 20 by 20 on piers, 13 houses. Okay, 13 houses an acre. That's quite a few. That's a good amount. I love that that you're able to fit in. I mean, that's literally 13 more housing solutions per acre, which I mean, the average neighborhood is probably doing about 4 houses per acre. So being able to go tiny like that literally is getting over 3 times the amount of homes per acre, basically. I mean, some places, it's going to be closer to like 8 houses per acre, but still, that's quite a few more houses, and it really depends on the density and whatnot. But the average home just is so big, and there's so many people who are just living in their house, just one person or maybe 2 people inside of a full house. So being able to go smaller like that is very nice. Okay, that's cool. Nice. Yeah, I love that too, Joe. He's like, I do not need a tub. How big is their tub, Soren? Yeah. The land screws or something like that.
Earth anchors or screws.
The earth screws, the earth anchors.
Something like that.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about that, and I think so many people could benefit from those because they're pretty easy to install if you have the right setup. So, like a normal size tub. Okay, yeah, my wife loves a tub, so tubs are definitely not for everybody, but if you're a for the full construction cost, which is actually a pretty good price, all things considered. Um, I mean, I would have said 5 years ago that was a little bit expensive and you could get it for a bit cheaper than that, but now like you just literally can't. I mean, Damaris and them were saying that they're in about it's costing almost double what it cost their friends to build just 5 years ago. So it's
Wow.
literally everything's doubled in price, which makes DIYing that much more important because your prices are already going to be so expensive. So, but I also liked what Michael said with Mac Insurance yesterday that when you get your tiny house insured, you don't want to just insure it for the price that it costs you to DIY it. You want to insure it for the price that it would cost for somebody else to build it and for it to be replaced without you having to lift a finger. Because if you ever have to replace it, you don't want to replace it for free. You don't want to spend all that time again and not get paid for your time, because you obviously have to take time off work or whatever. Unless you're in a different financial situation, most people need to be able to work to survive, and you don't want to just take off another multiple months chunk of time or work in your evenings and do basically hold two jobs and try to do that. So yeah, I agree, Soren. Definitely want to make sure that you're finding what's important to you and spending time and budget and allocating space to what's important to you. So strategic one. Okay. Do you know if strategic one was going to insure it as an RV or how they're going to insure it, Damaris? I'd love to hear in the chat too, Soren, kind of like what you're saying about personal preference. I'd love to hear in the chat what is everybody's um, most important must have inside of their tiny house. What do they have to have? So like some people might need a tub, some people might need a big kitchen or whatever it is. Love to hear in the chat what's the most important thing for you for your tiny house. Yeah, I haven't heard a strategic one either, but as a tiny house, that's cool that you got it insured as a tiny house. A Nook chill space. A deck. I love that.
Grand Reb deck, that's solid. Nice ground floor bedroom. There's been some really cool designs that builders have been coming out with some ground floor bedrooms. We have a few on our tinyhouseplans.com website too, you can check out, but that's definitely one that I would consider a priority as well.
Your bike trainer. Nice. Okay. That's a good one. Have you seen, I think it's the Trehan by Fritz tiny house that had like a whole little like cutout area specifically for I'm not positive what a bike trainer is. I'm not sure if that's like where you set your actual bike or if that's like one of those biking workout machine things. But they have like a specific spot inside of their tiny house. I think it was the Trehan by Fritz Tiny Homes for an actual workout bike. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I agree about keeping it from looking cluttered. I definitely don't like when any space just feels like there's too much stuff for the space. I like having a home for each item. Like I like being able to put my items away. And kind of like I was saying yesterday, it's an important thing, especially if there's multiple people living in the house. Everybody needs to know like where the home is for that specific item, so that then when you're cleaning, you know exactly where it should go rather than just kind of like putting it here one day and putting it there the next day and putting it wherever. And then the problem is with that is you never know where it's going to be. Whereas if it has a specific home, it A, speeds up cleaning, and B, keeps it cleaner a lot more often. And then C, you always know where it's at. So love that.